Let's make a rocket box. Hi, and welcome to my craft room. My name is Kelsey, and today we are going to make a box that looks like a rocket. If you are new to my craft room, welcome. I am so happy to have you here, and today we are going to go step by step on how to make this rocket box. You can find the link below to the blog post, which will have the free SVG download, as well as the written out instructions and all of the materials and tools. Let's jump over into Cricut Design Space. I have uploaded my SVG file into Cricut Design Space. Here is the whole thing. My first suggestion is always to resize everything. So don't ungroup until everything is resized. The best way to kind of look at what the size of this box is going to be is how big your hexagon is. So if I look here right now, from this side to this side, it's going to be about 6 inches, a little bit less, so 5 inches across. So that gives you a good idea of how big the box is going to be. And then of course you need to also consider your material. So for example, this is 14 inches. I don't have 14-inch paper, so I need to make this a little bit smaller. And then my box is going to be still in that like 6-inch range across. Did I say 5 inches before? 6-inch range across. It's still, I don't have paper that is that big, so I need to make it a little bit smaller. And I do have paper that will fit. My max is 11.5. So I'm just kind of using my shift here. You can also, of course, change the size up here. And then now it's in the size that I want it to be. And it's still going to be about that same size, right? So it's a little bit less than 6 inches across. And then this is going to be your height, which is a little more than 6 inches high. So it's a pretty nice size box. This is the base of the box right here. The next thing you're going to want to do is ungroup everything, and you're going to change all of these lines that are on top. So I'm using Command on my Mac just to grab all of the lines, and I'm going to change those to score lines. Now, if you don't have a scoring tool, this box is it's just going to be a little bit more difficult to fold where you need to. You'll have to delete all of these lines and then fold manually. So that's just one thing that you have to keep in mind. However, if you have the scoring tool, you'll change everything to score, and then you'll go back and make sure you attach everything back. So I'm just grabbing this and attaching, grabbing all of these and attaching them on, and you'll do this for each piece. And I'm just highlighting over and hitting that paper clip. And then once you have everything attached, you are ready to start cutting. So this is actually more than my 11.5. So I'm going to highlight over everything and just resize it one more time. This is your biggest piece, so just keep that in mind. I should have mentioned that before. I apologize. So I'm just making it a little bit bigger. Now I'm making it a little bit smaller, but I'm always resizing everything, including those windows. And now everything is in the size, so I'm going to hit make. I cut everything out using a medium cardstock setting. You can, of course, move things around so that you can maximize your paper. I always do this before I cut. And now we can send to our machine. I use the medium cardstock setting in fast mode. However, that'll depend on your blade and your machine. So let's get started on our assembly. We're going to start by folding on the bottom of the box, the longer part of the box, and we are going to fold on all of those score lines. So I'm using like a little scraper or spatula that you would usually use for vinyl. You can also use a bone tool for this. I couldn't find my bone tool at the time, so same kind of, concept here. And you're folding in on all those score lines to make them nice and crisp. And now we are going to glue everything together. So I'm starting with this side panel over here and some of my craft glue. Again, everything will be linked in the blog post, materials and tools that I use, so you can go and check that out. That's also where you download the free SVG file. And so I'm gluing down on the side, and then I'm also gonna glue the bottom of the box down. I put the hexagon on the outside of this box, so the big part, the big hexagon, the flat part. And you can, of course, put it on the outside if it's easier. I just want to hide all of my flaps, but obviously it's the bottom of the box, so it doesn't matter if it's really hidden. And we're also putting something else down there kind of to help it stand. So I'm using my craft glue, and I'm going to close it, and then you can put your hand on the inside of the box to kind of flatten everything down. And we're going to repeat this exact same steps for this exact same set of steps for the top of the box. It's the smaller hexagon. kind of jumping back to the bottom of the box, and we're gonna build it's like a angled rectangle for the bottom. Actually, an angled square, I'm sorry. An angled square, and I did this just to kind of give some more stability to the project because we have those like landing triangles off the side, I guess you could say. And so I wanted this to just make the box a little more stable so we weren't putting all of the weight on those little stands off the side. And so I'm folding on the box here. You're going to connect the two sides with your craft glue. And again, I'm just kind of folding and putting the flaps on the inside. So there's nothing too special about this box. It is on an angle, so just try to line up your pieces as closely as possible. That way it's not wonky when you set it down. So it's pretty much a square. It does have a little bit of a flare. You can barely see it, but that is the bottom of the box. So we're going to jump over to our cone top. We're going to assemble this and then place it on top of the red hexagon. And the cone is made in a super similar way to the hexagons. I'm folding in on all of those score lines, and then I'm going to attach the side. The only difference with this one is obviously you can't stick your hand into the cone. So you just need to be a little bit more patient when you're gluing down your flaps, because you're going to have to basically like rely on pressure from your hand and patience while the glue dries to that hexagon. So again, you can't put pressure from both sides to glue the flaps together. So you kind of just need to more rely on your patience here and your glue drying over the pressure. So another way you could do this is you can also use hot glue. That way it dries really, really fast. However, my glue that I'm using, the Bearly Arts, it does dry relatively fast. So I always just stick to my craft glue. Now I am adding my craft glue again to the bottom of the hexagon on the cone. And you'll see I'm being pretty liberal with this. And now I'm going to attach this cone perfectly onto that hexagon box top. So now you're going to have the hexagon part, which is the box top, and then the cone sitting right on top of it. So the base of your box is now ready, and so we're going to add on all of our little details. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to fold in on these triangle pieces towards each other, and then we're going to slightly glue on the bottom of them. They're not going to glue all the way up, so there's gonna be a gap in between the two sides, but it's going to make kind of like a pyramid, I guess you could say, and it's gonna bend down. So these are going to be our little landing pad stem things. Now, as for our windows, these are pretty simple to put together. I use like a mirror paper, I guess a silver metallic paper, and then I just did blue, and you just glue these together to create a window or a porthole, whatever you want to call it. And now we can start adding on all of our detail pieces. So the first thing I'm going to start with is that square that we built, and I'm going to put the open side towards the bottom. Think of it as like where, the flames come out of a rocket. And again, I'm just using a liberal amount of glue here, and I'm gonna glue that in the center of my hexagon on the bottom of the box. And you wanna give this a little bit of time to dry. I believe the pressure from the box will kind of help it adhere, so you can flip it over. And then this also gives you the height for how high to put those legs on. So I hope I've been calling this a hexagon. I feel like I have the whole time, but sometimes I have a blonde moment. So we're going to now add on our legs. And so there are 6 sides and there are 3 legs and 3 windows. So I just alternated them. And so I'm gluing the leg onto the side. So there's that flat piece on the back. And I'm going to kind of line up the bottom of the leg with the table. And so this will make it look like the legs are supporting it, but it has that box underneath to help the support. So I'm going around with all of these and all of the windows alternating. I did the windows slightly underneath the lid, and that's the reason why I have the lid on while I'm doing this, because it helps with placement. So you want to keep that red lid on, or whatever color you made the lid, and then you want to place the windows underneath that with a little bit of room. You don't want to place the windows on without the lid on, and then when you go and put the lid on, the windows are covered up. So that's how we go around and we glue everything on to our box. And once you have everything glued on, you have completed your rocket box. These make excellent party favors for a space-themed birthday. Thank you so much for joining me as we made this rocket box. I hope you enjoyed creating it as much as I did. If you enjoyed this project, please don't forget to give this a big thumbs up. It helps me so much. And if you really enjoyed the project and want to continue to learn different Cricut projects for free, then don't forget to subscribe. If you have any crafty friends, please share this project as well, as I bring new projects for your Cricut every single week. Stay crafty!